From strange assassination attempts involving umbrellas to sneaky spy women on the loose, here are 10 unbelievable spy operations. But first, we're glad our video is giving you some great ideas for your book, Diane, and maybe you can throw some interesting stories about spies as well. Number 10. Operation Chaos. When you were walking around your college campus, did you ever once stop and think to yourself, hey, maybe one of these students are actually spies working for the CIA? Probably not. Operation Chaos was the code name given by the CIA to spy on the student body of certain college campuses where leftist ideas were beginning to brew. They wanted to see if they can find people that were trying to start communist coup d'etat. This spy mission began with President Nixon to see what all the fuss was about and what the big deal was with all these peace-loving hippies. Based on what many people believed at this time, it would seem to make good sense that there was possibly a communist out there spreading their ideology around college campuses. The CIA would dress up agents like college students and get them to join different groups. This included groups such as the Black Panthers, Young Lords, Women's Strike for Peace, and various liberal groups. In the end, the CIA compiled files on roughly 7,200 American citizens via eavesdropping, going undercover, and video surveillance. Some even claim there were many influential Black Panther members who were quietly assassinated during this unbelievable spy operation. Turns out that some of these organizations were actually meeting up with governments of China, North Vietnam, and even North Korea. Number 9. Cat spies. During the Cold War, the US government used some animals as guinea pigs in order to advance technology and to make sure things were safe for humans. We launched dogs and monkeys into space before we sent humans, but in this case, we actually tried using cats as spies in a $10 million funded experiment. If you think about it, cats could actually make good spies. They won't tell any secrets if they get captured, everyone loves them, and they don't have an American accent that will give them away. They spent 5 years and $10 million on this experiment, trying to properly train the cats for proper espionage tactics. One cat was equipped with surgically implanted listening equipment, a battery, and a tail-based antenna. It all went to waste, however, when the cat bolted under a taxicab and died during training one day. No wonder cats seem to hate us. Number 8. Cambridge 5. Is it possible that 5 members of the British Parliament were actually communist spies the whole time? It would be hard to imagine because all 5 spies went to the prestigious British University of Cambridge and were recruited by the Soviets when they attended class there. After a decade or so, the Cambridge 5 worked their way up to become high-ranking communist intelligence agents. They were apparently motivated by the ideology of communism and were able to tip off the Soviet Union about all kinds of things. Apparently, there was a plot to send anti-communist insurgents into Albania. They also learned crucial information about the Allied plot of invading Korea and so on. The British began to catch on that there were a few moles among the group, and they began to investigate the Cambridge 5 a little closer. Before getting persecuted, the spies fled into various countries in Europe. Number 7. The Hainan Incident. As you should probably know, the Chinese are suspicious of us, while at the same time, we're sort of suspicious of them. So it's not really gonna look great when they catch one of our spy planes flying through their skies. The EP-3 you see from this photo was operating nearly 70 miles from the People's Republic of China, which just so happened to be rather close to one of their top secret military bases in the Parcel Islands. 2 Chinese fighter jets were deployed, and they had the American jet cornered. One of the fighters begins to get a little bit cocky and starts following the American spy plane too closely, and the 2 planes collide, killing the Chinese fighter jet pilot. But this testimony is often disputed with the Chinese, and they point the finger at us. The American crew, however, survived, but with a catch. They had to make an emergency landing in the country that they were trying to spy on. They were interrogated for 2 days straight and forced to eat fish heads, apparently. After relentlessly searching the spy plane, the Chinese made negotiations and let the 24 crew members go back home. Number 6. Tito Assassination attempts. After World War II, a tough leader of Yugoslavia refused to give up his power to the Iron Curtain. He also proved to be somewhat invincible, especially against Soviet assassination attempts. Tito even refused to align himself with the Soviets, and of course, this angered Joseph Stalin. Due to Tito's lack of loyalty to other communist nations, he had to be eliminated. There were an estimated 22 attempts to take Tito's life, including some crazy methods that seemed to be straight out of a James Bond film. One method included a jewelry box that would emit a toxic nerve gas when it was opened. Another method included releasing the bubonic plague when he opened a pen cap. None of the attempts worked, even though they were carried out by some of the Soviet Union's most efficient assassins. It got to the point where Tito mailed Joseph Stalin a letter, formally telling him, "Enough is enough, you can't kill me, get over it." Once Stalin died, the attempts were called off, and relations between the two nations cooled down just a little bit. Number 5. Project Cold Feet. Operation Cold Feet took place in 1962 when the US CIA agents decided to investigate an abandoned Soviet research station that was literally floating around in the Arctic Ocean. This strange research station was actually built on a sheet of ice. The Soviets had abandoned it because the ice was cracking, and at any moment the whole station was getting ready to sink to the bottom of the frigid ocean. So time was certainly of the essence. Getting there by air was basically impossible, so the Soviets figured no one would dare access their research station. Americans actually had their own Air Force base in Greenland and decided to send one of their most experienced paratroopers to go and do some extreme urban exploring. These parachuters didn't get cold feet, and the mission turned out to be a success. They were able to take some valuable information the Soviets had uncovered about underwater sonar and how they were detecting US submarines. You can't underestimate the determination of the Yankees to get a hold of some Ruski intelligence. They also came across a lot of adult Russian magazines that were left at the base. Sounds like a jackpot. Number 4. The Bulgarian Assassination. So how do you assassinate a person with an umbrella, you might ask? Bulgarians use umbrellas for more than just protecting themselves from the rain. They use them to assassinate. A Bulgarian secret agent used this umbrella to assassinate another Bulgarian named Georgi Markov in 1978. Georgi Markov, living in London at the time, was considered to be a dissident who refused the official policy of the Union and therefore needed to be eliminated. He felt a little stinging sensation in his leg while waiting for the bus, and he noticed a guy picking up an umbrella off the floor and running away. This umbrella actually carried a ricin pellet, which is poisonous and almost impossible to trace. The mission was successful. Although this might seem like a cool James Bond style mission, we forget here that this was carried out by a ruthless dictator on an innocent man. Not only that, but dying by ricin is certainly not fun. He sounded quite crazy going to the hospital and telling the nurses that he's just been poisoned by the KGB. So that's why he didn't receive immediate attention. A museum now displays this custom-designed replica. Apparently, a room full of these incognito umbrella devices were uncovered in Bulgaria. Number 3. Operation Merlin. So sometimes cool secret spy missions don't always go as planned, and they can certainly backfire. The Americans found a banished Russian nuclear scientist to join them in on their games for this one. During the Clinton administration, they had a new problem on their hands. Iran was trying to develop a nuclear weapon, and the US wanted to make it as difficult as possible. So they concocted a plan to throw off the Iranians by creating blueprints with flaws in the design. In order to make it seem like legitimate blueprints, they had to put some realistic information on it. They wanted the Russian guy to hand over the blueprints to the Iranians. Where could this possibly go wrong? When the Russian scientist finally arrived in Iran, he really didn't see any reason to stay loyal to the Americans anymore. In fact, he looked over the blueprints and pointed out all the deliberate flaws the Americans were trying to hand off to them, and even learning new ways to advance their nuclear technology. Anyways, to sum it up, we're not sure why they trusted a Russian guy, and Iran now has nuclear weapons, partially because we gave them the instructions. Way to go. Maybe we should give some fake blueprints to North Korea too? No, don't do it. Number 2. Putin Undercover. Ronald Reagan was president of the United States during a time when the Cold War was slowly coming to an end. The Soviets and their economical ideology was being put to the ultimate test during the 1980s, and it seemed like both sides were tired of the competition to come out on top. The Berlin Wall wouldn't be torn down until 1989, which was 1 year later after this photo was taken, so there was still plenty of spying to do. This image shows Ronald Reagan meeting with a group of tourists in the Red Square to give them a tour. This was one of the attempts by the Reagan administration to try to cool down tensions between the Americans and the Soviets. But it's very possible the Soviets had something up their sleeve during this seemingly peaceful meeting. When this photograph was released by the Obama administration, he claimed that the man on the left side is actually the current president of Russia, Mr. Vladimir Putin. In 1989, Vladimir was working as a KGB agent, so it's strange to be disguised as a tourist. The plan apparently was to have Putin dress up like a tourist and ask a barrage of bizarre, embarrassing questions to Ronald Reagan in order to make him look bad in front of the press. Putin denies these claims and states that he was working as a spy in East Germany in 1989. What do you believe? Number 1. Kim Jongnam Assassination. Recently, February 2017, the brother of Kim Jong-un, who is of course the notorious leader of North Korea, mysteriously died at a hospital in Malaysia. The eldest son of Kim Jong-il and the half-brother of Kim Jong-un, Kim Jongnam, who was apparently in semi-exile from North Korea, certainly didn't appear to support the regime. Video footage of the strange attack that we see here appears to show a woman wearing an LOL shirt approach Kim Jongnam. LOLing and assassinations usually don't belong together. It was later revealed that she had a cloth that was soaked with VX nerve agent. She went up from behind and placed the cloth over his mouth. Nam was quite horrified by the whole ordeal and spoke with airport officials that he believed he was just attacked. He died at the hospital later that evening. Although the case is still under investigation, it's widely believed that this was a successful assassination ordered directly by Kim Jong-un himself.
So which one did you think was the most interesting? Be sure to leave us a comment in the comment section and subscribe for new videos every day.